Hey, everybody, welcome to the Family Church Podcast. February is our month of missions, and this month we're filming special podcasts that give deeper dive into what we're supporting in our month of missions. I have with me today Jenna Ellis, who is the host of the Jenna Ellis Show. You can hear every morning. Is it from 7 to 8 or 8 to 9? I know
8
it's
to
one
9
of those.
Eastern.
That's
and
it.
yes, so
Yeah.
thankfully you can sleep in a little bit more and then still listen.
That
But it's on
is.
American Family Radio Network, so you can go to afr.net.
Right. And Jenna, at the beginning of your show, one of the sponsors are Preborn.
Yes.
And, that really resonated with us as a church when we were thinking about what do we put in our month of missions offering. And so we put Preborn in. Talk a little bit about what Preborn is and what they do.
Yeah, it's really been an amazing partnership for me as well, and even for my mom. She, like you, she was listening to my show, and she texted me one day and said, I have been really convicted that I need to do more with my own actions and our finances to actually be on the front lines to help with the cause of life. Mm-hmm. And so what Preborn does is they sponsor ultrasounds and ultrasound technology so that women who may be thinking about choosing an abortion can actually see their baby's heartbeat. Yeah. And oftentimes, seeing that your child is living, seeing that heartbeat, hearing that will change the mother's mind, and she will choose life. Because unfortunately, we're still in a culture that abortion is still an argument, and we're still fighting for life and for policies. And while there are still legal abortions, even though we know it's not morally acceptable, we want to encourage as many women as possible to choose life, because we wouldn't even have to make abortion illegal if it was unthinkable.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm happy you brought that up, because I want to talk about the culture. Mm-hmm. Tell me how you sense it's shifting in this area, because I think it is. And tell me kind of what you see. And for people who don't know Jenna's background, she was with President Trump in his first term, very active in that. And one of the reasons that you were a little skeptical about a Trump 47 is you didn't know where he would stand fully on the abortion issue, but you've been surprised.
Yeah, and thankfully so. So we saw from his first administration how he was an ardent supporter for life. He was the first president to attend the March for Life, and then ultimately appointed the Supreme Court justices that overturned Roe versus Wade. But then after the Dobbs opinion leading into the 2024 election, the RNC even watered down their platform on life. So this was beyond just Trump. It was kind of a Republican Party whole movement to say, hey, abortion isn't a winning issue. Right. Where for Christians, it's not about winning or losing, it's about standing for the truth.
That's right.
And so we didn't want to water it down. And so even though Trump, of course, won the nomination, heading into the election, that was a concern, because I've even had conversations with him where he had said, I don't know, Dobbs, that was very difficult, and some of those things. So I wasn't sure if he would stand up as strongly for life in his second term, but we saw in his first week, not only were there monumental executive orders on a whole host of other issues, but Vice President J.D. Vance went to the March for Life. President Trump spoke there, even though virtually, but then he also signed the pardons for pro-life activists, which had been targeted unfairly. He signed the executive order directing the Justice Department they can't weaponize the FACE Act, which allows you to then go and be outside of an abortion clinic and talk to people and hopefully change their mind. I mean, so many things already, directing the HHS on pro-life policy. So he's done more than I thought he might do even in his 4 years, in his first week. So I'm really grateful for that. And I think all of that is really an opportunity for the church to now invest in the culture, because we're slowly starting to see that people are now changing their opinion and saying, well, wait, because President Trump is really pro-life now, maybe I can be too.
Yeah. And I think some of it is just a freedom to be vocal about it. But I do think there's a paradigm shift in our country. And, it kind of goes back to, I've heard, just common sense, right? And to say that this baby that's moving in a belly is not a life, is that just makes no sense at all. Right. And even at conception, we believe that God has given that baby life at conception. And so, yeah, I do see a shift in our culture. And you mentioned him, quite honestly, when Trump picked J.D. Vance, I thought, really?
Yeah, I think we all kind of had that reaction. Yeah.
And he's going to be great for the pro-life movement.
Yeah, the best image coming out of the March for Life was J.D. Vance holding that sign that said, March for Life, I am the pro-life generation.
Yes.
And as the first millennial, that's my age group as well. And that to me was just one of those moments that I thought, here is someone who has such an opportunity to influence the next generation, and he's standing firmly for the truth. It was incredible.
I did hear somebody say, okay, now that Roe v. Wade has been overturned, let's move the march from January to a time when it's not sub-zero, 12 degrees below zero. And they were having it the day they have it because that was in a line with Roe v. Wade.
Well, let's do Dobbs now. That was in June.
Yes, let's do Dobbs in June. All right, let's get off politics for a moment. And let's just talk about why life is so valuable. Why is that baby so important?
Yeah, and that's a great question for so many Christians. And often I hear from people saying, why are Christians so adamant that we support life? And what does that actually mean? And we hear the objections of, well, you're just pro-birth. But Christians are pro-life, meaning life from conception all the way until natural death, because that's what we understand as Christians. It is God who holds our years.
Yes.
And he is the one who is the life giver, and he is the one who is the life taker. And so we are pro-life all the way throughout life. And life is the very first and most fundamental right, because without life, you don't have the opportunity to exercise any other rights. And so for anyone who understands that our rights come from God, our creator, not our government, and it's just the purpose of government to preserve and protect those rights, understands that the most fundamental of those rights is the right to life. And then you stand up for all other rights after that.
Absolutely. And you brought a great point. God gives life, and he determines the days. And if we're not solid on that, here's what happens. Well, maybe we determine when to shorten their days. And euthanasia and those kind of movements, right, wouldn't be there if we all believed that God gave life. And I have a child with special needs. That's one of the talking points. Well, if they're in the womb, they can figure out it's a special needs child. Do you end it? No. God gave every one of those lives for a reason, for a purpose. And we have to value that. So let's go back to Preborn, because that's where we started. Talk to us a little bit about maybe some stories or people you've talked to where Preborn has made a difference.
Yeah, well, one of the reasons that I'm personally very invested in this issue from a personal perspective, not just the issue itself and being a Christian, is because my little brother was adopted as well, and his mother was a single mother who chose life. And he's an amazing young man and just graduated from Liberty University. He's part of our family, and God has such a great plan for him. And so I'm so grateful that his birth mom chose life so that he could come into our family.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful picture of adoption and salvation that the Lord has for every Christian, and that has been so much more meaningful to me. And Preborn has so many examples and stories of women who were thinking about abortion, and because they saw their baby's heartbeat, they changed their mind. I've interviewed women on my show. There's a woman named Emily, and she was one who was considering abortion just because it didn't fit with her family's plan, and that's what we see from Planned Parenthood, for example. And she ended up choosing life because she saw her baby's heartbeat on an ultrasound and knew instinctually that that is a life. And I can't choose any other decision but life. And her daughter's now a teenager, and she said it's been the greatest gift to be a parent. And so there are so many stories of women who think it's the better decision to choose abortion, but when they choose life, their child becomes their greatest blessing.
Absolutely. Thank you for bringing this ministry to awareness in our church. And we're so excited it's a part of our month of missions.
Thank you.
Hey guys, thank y'all for tuning in to this podcast. You'll see others for the month of missions. Hope you'll watch those. And as always, if you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, share it with others so that we can grow our platform. Once again, thank you. And if they want to give to Preborn, they give us the website.
Yeah, you can just go to preborn.com and you can give there or through Family Church.
Awesome. Thank you and have a great day.